Imagine you're driving home after a long day. When you're tired, you're minding your own business, and then you see them, the blue and red lights flashing in your rearview mirror. Your heart sinks. You pull over, hands on the wheel, trying to stay calm. But here's the thing that most people don't realize. The moment that officer walks up to your window, the investigation has already begun. They aren't just looking for your license and registration, they are looking for a way in. They are looking for a reason to turn a simple traffic stop into a full-blown search of your private life. Most people think that if they are polite and answer every question, the officer will let them go. But the truth is, the police are trained in the art of the trick question. They use specific phrasing designed to make you waive your constitutional rights without you even realizing you're doing it. By the time you realize what's happening, your car is being torn apart on the side of the road, and you're standing on the curb wondering where it all went wrong. I'm here to tell you that you don't have to be a victim of these tactics. I'm a defense attorney, and I spend my life protecting people from these exact situations. In this video, I'm going to break down the top 5 trick questions cops use to bypass the Fourth Amendment. I'm going to show you why these questions are traps, and more importantly, I'm going to give you the exact word-for-word phrases you need to use to shut them down instantly. Stick around until the end, because I've put together a right-to-refuse cheat sheet that you can keep in your glove box. It's a simple script that ensures you never say the wrong thing when the pressure is on. Let's dive into trap number 1, the "why are you so nervous?" bait. You're sitting there, your hands might be shaking a little, which is a totally natural human reaction to being pulled over by an armed government official. And the cop leans in and says, "You seem a little jumpy today. Why are you so nervous? You got something in here you're worried about?" This is a classic setup. If you say, "I'm not nervous," they'll write in their report that you were acting unusually defensive. If you say, "I'm just stressed about work," they'll use that as a lead-in to ask more personal questions. But here is the real danger. In many jurisdictions, extreme nervousness can be used as a building block for reasonable suspicion. They are trying to get you to admit to a physical state that they can then use to justify detaining you longer than the law allows. The cop isn't asking because he cares about your mental health. He's asking because he wants you to start talking. He wants you to stumble over your words. So how do you beat this? You don't try to defend your emotions. You don't try to explain your day. Instead, you use this specific phrase, "Officer, I'm sure you can understand that being pulled over is an intimidating experience. I'm not comfortable discussing my personal feelings. Am I free to go, or am I being detained?" By saying this, you've acknowledged the situation without giving them any evidence of suspicious behavior. You've turned the focus back onto your legal status. Are you free to go? That is the only question that matters in that moment. That brings us to trap number 2, the "where are you coming from?" interrogation. It sounds like small talk, doesn't it? "Where are you headed tonight?" Or "Where have you been?" It feels rude not to answer. But legally speaking, your travel plans are none of their business. This is a trap designed to find inconsistencies. If you say you're coming from a friend's house, they might ask, "Which friend? Where do they live?" If you hesitate or get a street name wrong because you're flustered, suddenly you're providing conflicting information, and that gives them an excuse to dig deeper. They are looking for criminal interdiction markers. Maybe you're coming from a high crime area, which, let's be honest, is a term cops use for just about any neighborhood they want to search. Or maybe you're coming from a state where certain substances are legal, and you're heading to one where they aren't. When they ask where you're going or where you've been, the human instinct is to be helpful. Resist that instinct. Here's your countermove. "Officer, I prefer to keep my travel plans private. I'd like to provide my license and insurance and get back on my way as quickly as possible." You aren't being a jerk. You're being a citizen who knows their rights. You are under no legal obligation to provide a travel itinerary to the police during a traffic stop. Now, trap number 3 is a personal favorite of aggressive officers, the "I smell something" bluff. This is the most evil of the traps because it's almost impossible to disprove on the side of the road. The officer leans his head into your window, sniffs the air, and says, "I smell a little bit of marijuana," or "I smell alcohol. Have you been drinking?" Once an officer claims they smell something illegal, in many states, that immediately gives them probable cause to search your entire vehicle without a warrant. They don't need your consent anymore. But here's the secret. Sometimes they don't actually smell anything. They are fishing, and they say they smell it to see how you react. If you panic and say, "Oh, my friend was smoking in here yesterday," you just gave them the keys to your trunk. If an officer says they smell something and you know there is nothing in that car, do not get into an argument about their sense of smell. You won't win that. Instead, you need to go on the legal record immediately. You say, "Officer, I don't know what you think you smell, but I do not consent to any searches. If you are going to search my vehicle against my will, I am going to remain silent and I want to speak to my lawyer." You must state clearly, "I do not consent." Even if they push you out of the way and start tossing your seats, you keep repeating it, I do not consent to this search. Why? Because if they find something, or even if they don't, your lawyer can later challenge the probable cause in court. If you stayed silent or acted like you were okay with it, the court will assume you consented. Make them prove that smell in front of a judge later. Trap number 4, the help yourself ploy. This one is subtle. The officer says, look, I can tell you're a good person. I'm just trying to make sure everyone is safe. If you just let me take a quick peek in the bag on the passenger seat, we can get this over with in 10 seconds. Help me out here so I don't have to call for a K-9 unit. This is pure psychological warfare. They are trying to make you feel like the bad guy for exercising your rights. They are threatening you with a drug dog to scare you into voluntary cooperation. But here's the reality. If they had the legal right to use a dog or search that bag, they wouldn't be asking for your help. They are asking because they need your permission to make it legal. And let's talk about that quick peek. There's no such thing as a quick search in the eyes of the law. Once you say, okay, they can search every nook and cranny. They can find a seeds and stems fragment from 3 years ago and use it to ruin your life. When they ask to take a look to be helpful, you need to be firm. You say, officer, I believe in being a law-abiding citizen, and that includes protecting my constitutional rights. I do not consent to any searches of my vehicle or my property. If they threaten you with a dog, you say, I understand you have a job to do, but I am not waiving my Fourth Amendment rights. Am I free to leave, or are you detaining me? Remember, the Supreme Court has ruled in cases like Rodriguez versus United States that the police cannot extend a traffic stop indefinitely just to wait for a drug dog. If the mission of the traffic stop, the speeding ticket or the broken taillight, is done, they have to let you go unless they have real articulable suspicion. Finally, we have trap number 5, the exit the vehicle power move. This is where things get physical. The officer says, step out of the car for me. Most people think this means they are under arrest. It doesn't. Under a Supreme Court case called Pennsylvania versus Mims, an officer can legally order you out of the car for officer safety during a valid traffic stop. You have to comply with the order to step out, but, and this is a huge but, stepping out of the car does not mean you have to let them search you or the car. The trap happens the moment your feet hit the pavement. The officer will say, since you're out, you don't mind if I pat you down real quick to make sure you don't have any weapons, do you? This is called a Terry frisk. Legally, they can only do this if they have a reasonable belief that you are armed and dangerous. But by asking, you don't mind, do you? They're trying to get you to consent so they don't have to prove you are dangerous later. When you step out of that car, keep your hands visible and say, officer, I am complying with your order to exit the vehicle, but I do not consent to any searches of my person or my property. I am not armed, and I am not a threat. If they reach for your pockets anyway, do not pull away. Do not resist. 2, just keep saying, I do not consent to this search. I'm only complying because you are ordering me to. I know this feels intense. I know it's hard to stay calm when a badge and a gun are staring you in the face. But you have to understand that the legal system isn't designed to protect the nice guy. It's designed to protect the guy who knows his rights. The police are allowed to lie to you. They are allowed to use tricks. They are allowed to pretend to be your friend. Your only defense is your voice. So here is the master script I promised you. If you're pulled over, follow these steps. First, provide your documents. Don't be argumentative about the reason for the stop. Just give them the license and insurance. Second, if they start asking questions about your day, your job, or your past, use the universal shutdown. Officer, I'm not discussing my day. I'd like to remain silent. Am I free to go? Third, if they ask to search, I do not consent to any searches. Say it clearly. Say it loud enough for their body camera to pick it up. Fourth, if they order you out, I am complying with your order, but I do not consent to any searches. And fifth, the golden question. Officer, am I free to go or am I being detained? If they say you are free to go, leave immediately. Don't stay to chat. Don't try to get the last word. Just go. If they say you are detained, say, I am invoking my right to remain silent and I want to speak to my lawyer. Then shut your mouth. Don't say another word until you've called someone like me. You're not being difficult when you do this. You're being an American. These rights were written into the Constitution because the founders knew exactly what happens. When government agents have unchecked power to search and seize, when you stand up for your rights, you're not just protecting yourself, you're protecting the integrity of the law for everyone. I've seen too many good people end up in handcuffs because they thought cooperation would save them. It won't. The only thing that saves you is the law. If you found this helpful, please share it with someone you care about. Knowledge is the best defense we have. And if you want to see exactly how cops use body language as a trick to justify arrests, you need to watch this next video. I go deep into the nervousness traps and how to keep your cool under pressure. Stay safe out there, keep your windows up, and remember, never ever consent. I'll see you in the next one.